We were sick as a dog on Monday, so we had to delay Best Ball Breakfast to Wednesday, but the show must go on. I'm back. I'm feeling better, ready to hop in a couple of drafts and talk through what feels like a dead period, but we will dig into some interesting situations playing out in the underdog ADP landscape and see what we're liking these days. I'm Pete. This is Best Ball Breakfast. Let's rip some drafts.
It really isn't that hard, guys. You just go top two, win it, win it.
Okay, I think we can be done here at running back.
You only have 3 running backs. This roster is littered with game theory, arbitrage, exploits, and theoretic reasoning.
Bro, light mode, my eyes, dude.
I don't know. I prefer that move more in a time box contest.
Bro, have you ever scrolled so far down that, like, there's no more names, bro?
Don't do drugs, kids. Draft and drive instead.
You can't have it both ways, dude. Quid pro quo.
All right, GMs, how are we doing here on this Wednesday morning? I believe it was it was 2 summers ago I did, when I was trying to do all 150 drafts streamed, I did Best Ball Breakfast on Mondays and Wednesdays. So this isn't super unusual, although then last year we piled in all of the streams to Monday. But yes, like I said at the top of the show, and I let you guys know in the Discord, we had a stomach bug go through our house over the weekend. I got it late Sunday night, barely slept. Sunday was puking my guts out for most of that evening. And I said, you know what? I'd like to think I'm resilient. I'd like to think that I can battle through the elements, but I did not have a show in me on Monday. So we had to take a rain check for today. Ant-Man saying I got my skin color back. Yeah, even on the Swolecast yesterday, I was looking a little pale. Definitely feeling much, much better today here. What is up? Hartman, Brady, Chad, Keep the Chief, All Boogie. I did not have diarrhea. I was just puking my guts out. The most demoralizing was, and again, like this doesn't get too graphic, but I couldn't keep a sip of water down. I woke up after falling asleep for a couple hours, went to get a sip of water because I was so dehydrated and my mouth was so dry. And I took one sip and I couldn't keep it down. That was a demoralizing moment there. But I will not, bore you guys or gross you out with all the details of throwing up all evening. Instead, let's do some coffee here. And I haven't even been doing much coffee the past few days. So I'm excited to get some coffee in my system. Mainly been doing tea and water here, but this is Best Ball Breakfast, and we can't do this show without a fresh pot of coffee. All righty, here. Let's see. We are going to hop in a big board draft. I said to people in the Discord I was going to hop in when the intro music played, but I was so out of sorts that I forgot to do that until right now. So we did just hop in a draft here, a few more spots remaining. If you guys want to join me. I actually had a funny thing happen on, it was either, I think it was Thursday or Friday evening. I wanted to hop in a biggest board slow draft. Underdog has a few of these contests up right now. The biggest board, that's the 250. And I said, you know what? It'd be nice to get in one of these higher stakes slow drafts. I accidentally hit the fast draft button, was not paying attention, carelessly entered the fast draft. So I was not a super popular person at dinner time the other night. I had to tell Lauren I accidentally registered for a $250 draft. I'm just going to be making a few picks on my phone while we make dinner. So I did navigate that biggest board fast draft that I accidentally entered there. And then I did one other draft the other day when I went for a walk. And I was like, you know what? I'll do my first big board draft that I haven't done on stream. So that's how you know I'm starting to get the bug, not the stomach bug, but the best ball drafting bug. When I start drafting when I'm not on stream, that's when you know I'm starting to get ready to blast off. Pete, if you win BBM, will you upgrade to an espresso maker to dunk on the peasants? Well, here's 2 things. We do have an espresso maker. My wife Lauren likes to do the espressos. I don't mind espresso, but as far as for the show, I don't think it works that well. But sure, if we win BBM, I think I could just maybe we just make the entire office, a coffee shop essentially, and we can have all the bells and whistles. But I think for the show, being able to pour the coffee is mandatory. GM. Might be better to punt the 250 than piss off the wife. I told her the situation, and she said it's fine. Just make your silly little picks here. So I made sure I wasn't going to end up in the doghouse with that biggest board draft. All right, we're on the clock here. We got the 1-7. I have not taken a lot of CeeDee Lamb. He's obviously best available right at this spot. Otherwise, this draft. Oh wow, someone flipped the board and went Genty at 1. We'll take CeeDee Lamb here. Kind of like one of those boring, what you're going to get round 1 picks. People always yelling at me to flip the board with Neighbors or Brian Thomas. But we take CeeDee Lamb here at 107. Yeah, Genty on a hump day here. Lou and Brew coming in hot. Because I did that on Best Ball Breakfast, a couple Mondays ago? I think I took him at 1-2. Yeah, if you guys watched After Dark on, what was that? Did I do that Saturday night with Friedman? Friday night with Friedman. Very fun show with Fantasy Life's Matthew Friedman. And I'll tease it here. He had an interesting contrarian take on Genty. And it wasn't so much a contrarian take for like his best ball ADP, more so how the NFL was viewing him and kind of nitpicking his lofty projected draft capital right now. So highly recommend checking that out. If you guys become YouTube members, you get access to all of those After Dark shows there. And I keep mentioning this just for the audio listeners as well. There's now also a premium version specifically for audio. So if you don't want to mess with the YouTube membership, but you want the audio, and it does come with video as well on Spotify, but there's a premium sub. I have the link down below. And when you sub for that, you'll get a private RSS feed. So it's basically if you want all of that content in podcast form as opposed to YouTube form, that option is now available, and you get the whole back catalog as well. I'm now uploading all of the After Dark episodes to that premium feed that you can get via Spotify. All right, we're about to pick here in the second round. We started off with CeeDee Lamb. We see Ladd McConkey go at pick 15. That's a little ahead of his ADP. Achane goes. I'm on the clock here. We got AJ Brown. We got Drake London. What do we do? I know Dwayne over at Fantasy Life had a post yesterday talking about how Devontae Smith would see a pretty big boost in his targets if Dallas Goedert gets traded, which definitely makes sense. We can take a stab on AJ Brown here. Last year at this time, he was going at the 1-7, 1-8, getting a little bit of a discount on him here at pick 18. And I think the reason you draft AJ Brown right now is you hope that the league implements the tush-push ban. They were discussing it at yesterday's owner meetings. Of all the things they passed, they changed the overtime, they changed the kickoff, they changed a few other things. They're tabling the conversations on the tush-push because it's such a grave and serious issue that they need more time to deliberate and present their case. But I mean, all jokes aside, if they do ban the tush push, it is kind of interesting, obviously for Barkley. And I think even for the pass catchers, because you'd expect them to maybe throw a little bit more in the red zone as well. Just hilarious that the tush push banning could have a trickle down effect on fantasy implications for us. Is there any rumors on changes to BBM? I have not heard any rumors yet, but it is crazy that BBM is going to be launched in less than a month. It's generally, the Saturday night, Sunday, right after the draft wraps up. I can't believe we are, 4 weeks away from that, about maybe a little more than that. If I pull up the calendar and look exactly. Mike says, thanks for doing baseball yesterday. I tripled my money in a tournament on the main slate. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, John gave me a MLB 101 primer for drafting the underdog dailies. Let me make my pick here, and then I can talk a little bit more about that. We can go ahead and grab Kyren Williams here. Breece Hall is an interesting decision point right now. People were discussing him in the ship chasing Discord yesterday. There was the quote from the team. I actually forget if it who it was. I don't know if it was their GM. Someone can let me know in the chat. But he was talking about how he basically said the quiet part out loud that Breece Hall is no longer a bell cow back for them, that they want to get Allen and Isaiah Davis involved. And it kind of confirmed what we saw toward the end of last season, that they're just not going to saddle Breece Hall up as a 20-plus touch bell cow back. And now we're kind of left to navigate what is a fair price for Breece Hall, because there is a lot of downside risk, I think, in this price here. When you look at the expected workloads for a Kyren Williams and Breece Hall right now, they're not even close, as much as we like Breece Hall as a talent. So I'm going to be watching this situation play out, but it'll probably take a little bit for the Breece Hall ADP to get to a more palatable price point. That's just how I'm thinking about it now. But yeah, back to the baseball thing. The show, if you guys are completely new to the MLB dailies, and there's contests up for all these slates. Holy cow, this one's already 50% full. I basically asked John every single beginner level question. And again, I know nothing about baseball. So we started from the nuts and bolts, and he got me to a point where I felt like I could do a few drafts on my own. I actually had a profitable slate as well yesterday. I only got 5 entries in, but went 5 for 65. So turned $35 into 65, had a team that finished in 200th place here. So yeah, I am already getting the baseball bug as well. And I highly recommend that show if you're looking for a quick primer to get you going. What happened to the Piss Boys? Way too much green on this board. Yeah, man, it's the new meta. Yeah, look at the 5-hole. Goes Bijan, JT, Josh Jacobs. Lots of green here. I know, a surprise Wednesday, GM Tim. Travioli says, thanks for doing baseball yesterday. I lost in the main slate, some as usual. Look at this. Look at all the people coming out of the woodwork with their recent MLB success. John turning a bunch of NFL bros into MLB monsters. All right, we are on the clock here. We got Jayden Daniels, Kittle, Tet, James Cook is up here. Let's see. Let's do Jayden Daniels. Let's take a stab at Jayden Daniels here. Obviously, we don't have Terry McLaurin. We can put Deebo in the crosshairs. Don't have to go out of our way to stack up Jayden Daniels necessarily, and mix it up a little bit. I will say right now, the article I'm working on for Fantasy Life this week, I'm doing weekly best ball strategy articles there, so make sure you guys are checking those out every week on Fantasy Life. They generally drop Thursday evenings or Friday mornings, but this week I'm going to go through my favorite backstacks. I kind of identified 6 of them that are my preferred backstacks when you get shut out of a quarterback or your primary stack gets sniped, and kind of a valuable exercise going through that. I'm sure we'll touch on a few of those today, but going to make sure that I don't have to do multiple backstacks by selecting Jayden Daniels. Hampton steam getting steamy. Yeah. There's a lot of buzz on Omarion Hampton. That was something we actually talked about with Matthew Friedman. I mean, at this point, Hampton feels like an absolute lock to go in round 1. Obviously, stuff can change, but Omarion Hampton, even when we did DFS After Dark with Daniel Raz a few weeks ago, he identified Omarion Hampton still as one of the more mispriced players on the board, with the assumption if he does go top 20, top 25, he's going to be a 3rd round pick. You know, he's going to leapfrog some of these guys in more ambiguous situations. Obviously the James Cook, but I think you could see him leapfrog a guy like Breece Hall if he landed in a really logical location like the Bears or something along those lines, like the Broncos. So I think there is still definitely a little bit of value here on the Omarion Hampton, even as he gets pricier here at pick 40 in this draft. All right, we will see what draft does here. This worked out well because I was legit considering George Kittle in the 4th, and I was like, just chill. Let the board come to you. If it's meant to be, let it go and it will come back. Well, guess what? George Kittle comes back, slides a couple picks past ADP here. And now we have a starting 5 of Jayden Daniels, Kyren Williams, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, and George Kittle. Look at that. We got Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels at point guard. Kyren Williams is like I think he's our small forward. George Kittle is our center. We're going to put CeeDee Lamb at shooting guard, and AJ Brown's our power forward there for this team so far. Where is it? Where is all the schedule stuff coming from now? Got Daniels versus Eagles week 17 too. Has the schedule been announced? Did I miss this? Or are you just banking on the having a crack at a divisional matchup in the playoffs? But I do I like that gal brain level of thinking, if that's where we're at here on this Wednesday morning. Adam has the script. Wow, can you leak it to me, bro? Can you leak it to me? Imwald said, first time attending live. My new 2-hour commute has me up way too early. Oof, 2-hour commute. That is rough, but we will give you hopefully 2 hours of content to enjoy. Man, two hours each way? Tell me that's 1 hour each way for 2 hours total. Don't tell me you're in the car 4 hours a day. Imwald, I need to know. I will be horrified if you're in the car 4 hours a day. Go AZ Cardinals says, are you doing anything different for contest selection this year? Less puppies, more higher stake? I think, I don't know if it's going to be that different than what I did last year, because last year I was definitely less puppies and did more of the mid-stake stuff. Made it a priority to max all of those, $50 contest. The Chow Chow was always one of my favorites. Any of those like pit bulls, in that range. So yeah, I think in general, just with where my life is at right now, I don't have the time to get in massive amounts of volume. So when I do draft, I kind of want to maximize it, in some of the more smaller stakes tournaments, not smaller stakes, I should say, smaller size tournaments, mid stakes, high stakes, and make sure that I'm having to get, a similar amount of money down just with less volume, and being able to do that with the higher dollar tournaments definitely helps that cause out. All right. Deebo Samuel goes at the 5-6 turn. I would have enjoyed stacking Daniels up with Deebo there. We now have a interesting tier here. I find a lot of these wide receivers to be fairly flat here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a Quinshon Judkins here. This is slightly ahead of ADP. This is another guy I think could probably not going to sneak into round 1. I mean, it wouldn't be impossible to see him go at the very end, but you're looking at a round 2 pick, probably fairly high in round 2. I like Judkins here as a guy who could see his value, certainly appreciate and pairs well with the steady hand of Kyren Williams as our RB1. All right, we got the traffic update from Imwald. It's between an hour and 2 hours each way, depending on traffic. Looking like an hour 45 this morning. But I got laid off 4 months ago, so I'm grateful to have a job again now. That's true. It puts everything in perspective, right? If the alternative is not having a job, then you can stomach that commute. Especially too, like I don't want to say I miss having a commute, but as someone who enjoys listening to music in the car, enjoys listening to podcasts, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it would be nice to just have a drive right now where I could fire up this podcast. So, we got to be a glass half full here for Imwald. Hard to flip the board in the middle, if you ask me. Yes, the board, if you flip it, it just goes back 180 degrees to exactly where you were when you began. So the team so far, Jayden Daniels at quarterback, Kyren Williams, Quinshon, Judkins at running back, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown at wide receiver, George Kittle at tight end. After I selected, we did see a run of wide receivers go here. Was hoping one of these guys made it back to me, but this should still work out. I'll get one of Shakir, Burden in this range. Shakir has been such a hard click for me. I think we argued about it on a previous Best Ball Breakfast. I'm kind of glad that draft takes him here. I'll go ahead and take Luther Burden. He's an interesting one. I know JJ at Late Round QB has talked a lot about him, actually has Luther Burden number 1 in his ZAP model, although that's not reflected in his ranks because he made some adjustments there. And he actually just did a newsletter post kind of digging into the Luther Burden eval. And it does seem like his stock is not quite as locked and loaded into the first round as we might have hoped like a month or so ago. But I still think if Luther Burden sneaks into the first round, if he goes top of the second, that we're going to feel pretty good about his price in this range. And the other thing about him is I do think he's a really strong prospect. I think he's someone that can, easily beat his ADP in year 1. I think he's a much better prospect than Matthew Golden, where you're really kind of banking on the draft capital and the landing spot to kind of bail you out at these prices. Whereas Luther Burden, I have more confidence, can kind of establish himself down the stretch, be a guy who contributes to our best ball teams in a meaningful way. So I'm happy to select Burden here, even as we now start to see, Egbuka, Matthew Golden go ahead of him. I think this just represents, in these pre-NFL draft contests where it's like, yes, we all have our preferences on the Golden, Egbuka, Burden, but we're kidding ourselves if we don't think they're in the same tier and that you mostly want to be shuffling up these bets as much as you can. Man, Hartman commutes an hour for a 17-mile drive. Gotta love that Cali traffic. Goodness. Sorry to hear this, Nick. Just got laid off from the NIH yesterday, having to look at DC area jobs that will be a similar commute. I know, we were DMing about that. I'm sorry to hear, Nick. Hopefully you land on your feet shortly. What's up, Frankie? Yes, I'm feeling much better. Probably not like 100%, but I think I'm about to 90, 95%. Might try to get a workout in today after the show, which I have had zero energy or stamina for. Doan says, I still can't understand Golden. The fastest 40 time is riddled with all-time busts. Yeah, that's mostly how I feel. But again, like if he goes to the Cowboys at 12, you just have to take him at that price because you're getting so many things working in your favor. And the number one thing you're getting is teams want to save face after they make these draft picks. They don't want to look stupid. They want to give these guys to succeed, even if they're not good, even if it means force feeding targets to a player who isn't performing well. And yes, that can go very wrong, like we saw with Quentin Johnston his first year. But the opportunity is going to follow with that draft capital. So when that stuff happens, I think you just have to plug your nose and take it. Where I think you can quibble about Matthew Golden right now is if you want to say, hey, I don't think the Cowboys are going to take him at 12, and I think he's going to fall out of the first round. I personally don't think that. I think he's probably a lock for the first round at this point, but that's where I would have my pushback. I wouldn't have my pushback if he goes 12 to the Cowboys. I want to be all out. Obviously, his price might rise in that scenario, but I think for now, that would be fine. All right, we are on the clock here. Man, just a wall of quarterbacks and tight ends. I'm going to go ahead and take Tony Pollard. There's no obvious stack I need to make now. I mean, we could do Brock Purdy. We also have Dak in the back pocket for CeeDee. So I'm just going to chill on quarterback right now, see what comes back to me, and go ahead and grab Tony Pollard a few picks past ADP. Beastburf has a hard time with Burden just because he played at Mizzou. Nobody has a hard time with Genty just because he played at Boise State, though, right? T-Bear says, Burden's last name is Burden, so I won't draft him. You are going to slide that burden to someone else, huh, T-Bear? Brandon, GM from the newborn streets. Hope you're feeling better, Pete. Yep, doing much better. Hopefully you are doing well in the newborn streets. I mean, all the new dads around here are crushing on Underdog. Nez took down an NBA slate the other night. Easy, who we had on the show last week, who has, I believe, like a 3-month-old, took down the MLB slate. So your time is coming. If you want to win on Underdog, get laid, have a kid, and then question mark, profit. There you go. Chris G with the GM member for 35 months. That reminds me, we added new membership badges because it has now been to the point where we're getting to people having been members for 4 years. So I added a 4-year badge and a 5-year badge. I don't know if anyone has those displaying yet. Within StreamYard, it doesn't show me the badges. But if you have been like Chris here, I believe in 1 month. Yes, can I do math? No, that would get you to 3. But there are some people who are getting close to 4 years on their membership, and you will get the new badge accordingly. Okay, we are back on the clock here. I think I want to just grab Christian Kirk. Jalen McMillan also is interesting to me here. I've been buying the dip on McMillan. Actually, I'm going to do McMillan here as a little bit of an ADP faller. He was a guy I was content drafting at ADP. I wasn't getting out over my skis on him. I understand the knocks on Jalen. I understand why his rank, why his ADP is dropping with Chris Godwin back in the fold. But I've kind of made the case before. I want access to this Tampa Bay offense. You have contingent upside with Jalen McMillan. Even though a lot of his production was touchdown dependent last year, I still want to be in on year 2 guys who flash efficiency in year 1. And even going back to the Godwin thing, there was a quote just yesterday. It's Chris Godwin should be ready week 1, which isn't necessarily as comforting as you'd want to hear for Chris Godwin. Like, you want to hear, no, he's going to be ready week 1. The fact that there's even any ambiguity about that, again, gives a sliver of an out that Jalen McMillan could have some of that contingent value early as well. So I'm still going to be in on Jalen McMillan. I'm happy to take him around pick 100. You know, we're looking at around guys like Rashid Shaheed, Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman. I have a hard time saying he's overvalued in that range with these guys. Shaheed or McMillan? Yeah, for me, that's McMillan. I think Shaheed's a strong pick, but I think if you're getting way better quarterback play, you're getting way better game environments. I think you also are getting a better chance at a breakout. I mean, a year 2 breakout is a much more common occurrence in the NFL than what is Shaheed at this point, year 5, year 6. I think Shaheed's a good player, but we know what Shaheed is at this point. Let's see here. I'm going to have to think through. Did I lose out? Wow. So all of my quarterback targets got sniped from me. Brock Purdy didn't make it back to me. And Dak Prescott went at the turn. Lewenbrew here takes Dak Prescott unstacked. Lewenbrew is having himself a morning. Genty at 101. Fields at 96. And unstacked Dak at 97. So now we need to think through how we want to play this. And maybe I should have taken Christian Kirk, because then I would have had CJ Stroud here as a potential backstack. Maybe I take Rashid Shaheed, and then it doesn't have to be one of course, then Shaheed goes. Great. Let's see here. I do want to make sure that I do not get in between a rock and a hard place at at quarterback. I think what I'm going to do, there are good backstack options, decent backstack options with Jordan Love. Let's go ahead and grab Jordan Love here. And we will build out some of those backdoor stacks with him. You know, with Jayden Daniels, I didn't have to fully panic at quarterback, but with no other stacks set up, I don't mind taking a stab in this range. And I just don't want to play with fire in this range at quarterback where we can see crazy runs. Like, I did not expect to see Fields and Dak Prescott go here. When that kind of room is developing, I'd rather just get out in front of it and make sure I don't get caught at the end of a really big tier break. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking here, Hartman. Is the brick draft caddy the only overlay that does buckets? Yeah, this is still from the old Leone data from the ETR Best Ball Manifesto. And that was just one of the first things Brick put in there. I believe they're trying to get the combo ownership fixed. I'm excited when they get that up there. But yes, that's the only overlay I know that displays that. I think once you've done a lot of drafts, you kind of intuitively feel, the buckets. You don't necessarily need the actual numbers there. But if you are, new to best ball or trying to get your bearings in these drafts, it is a very helpful signifier of kind of where you're at in a draft. Kendrick, we got the audio listener gang. What is up? What is up? What is up, Star Kindler? You little board people are insatiable. Absolutely insatiable. All right, so we're through 10 rounds. We have 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers. Drap is up to 7 wide receivers ahead of us. I think I'm not going to mess around here. I'm going to start with Kraft. I think we start with Kraft. He has the higher ADP. Let's get Love with Tucker Kraft here. And then we'll see if we can get another wide receiver pushed around the turn for us. But now up to a 2-3-4-2. We're gonna need to throw a lot of darts at wide receiver here. One of the weaker wide receiver rooms I'll have through 11 rounds: CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Luther Burden, and Jalen McMillan. So we are going to need to make up for it with quantity for sure. This is indeed generally how it works. Max out the big board, and we will get the little board too. What are we at percentage-wise? Up to 75%. So, yeah, this is still on a nice clip. This closes April 24th. So, man, geez, that is 22 days from now. 22 days from now, this contest will close. Dallas Goedert goes at pick 130. He's been a guy that's been falling in drafts with rumors about the trade. We talked about it. I don't know. Was it on Swolecast? Shocking that we talked some actual football on Swolecast, but that I didn't quite understand why the reaction to the Goddard trade rumors were him falling in ADP, with the assumption being, if a team trades for him, they probably have a plan for him. They probably don't have two, rock solid pass catchers ahead of him like he has in Philadelphia. We are on the clock, and I was hoping to get Doubs coming back here. So this works out nicely. We need a wide receiver. We immediately get the backdoor double stack with Jordan Love, which was kind of the thesis of that click there. So that works out well. Jordan Love in the 10th round, Tucker Kraft in the 11th, Romeo Doubs in the 12th. And now we're up to a 2-3-5-2. We're still going to need to get pretty familiar with some of these wide receiver darts, but the rest of this team is looking decent. Yeah, Goddard in the mid to late 140s even. I need to go see. It was either in my biggest board draft or the most recent big board draft I did. Let's see. Yeah, see, look at this, Crutches. Dallas Goedert, 165. I got Goddard at 165 in this draft the other day. So, I mean, the overreactions on the Goddard stuff is pretty wild. How many drafts in are you? Yeah, that was what I was just showing here. Like I said, not a ton of volume. This is my 15th big board. I maxed out the war room. I'm going to max out the bigger board. I did the one biggest board draft there. We can look at my exposures when we get a second, but I don't even have that much volume that my exposures are that interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a good point. The only annoying thing with moving Goddard was I was skinning him with Hurts often. Yeah, I mean, the backdoor Hurts stacks, it really is just Goddard that you feel comfortable with there. Man, this is a sick spot. Like, look at the board. It's just all rookie running backs. Adam Thielen's here. I think this team needs some upside. You know what? Here's an olive branch to the Coke heads. Let's do Coker here. Grab another wide receiver, and then we'll see one of these running backs comes back to us. There you go, Coker heads. I could not bring myself to click Adam Thielen over him. I already took my Adam Thielen. I took the Packers Adam Thielen, and his name is Romeo Doubs. I didn't need both Adam Thielens. Let me get I think this will be my final coffee pour here. Lute says, I wonder how far Coker and Leggett drop after they draft T-Mac. I don't think at all. I think I talked about this on a previous show. Maybe it was with Kyren on ship chasing, but these guys are priced as wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3s. I mean, Xavier Leggett is the first Panthers pass catcher off the board at 140. Like, the vacuum that exists is for a top pass catcher to go in round 4, 5, 6. So if they draft Tet, if anything, I could see the prices moving up because they become an even more priority stack, right? Because then you grab Tet, then you grab Bryce Young, and then you set up the stack, or you grab Leggett first and then Bryce Young, however the ADP shakes out. But I actually think their ADPs would not fall. They're already priced about as low as you can get as a presumed wide receiver 2. Because I think if you told the market they are not drafting anyone, they are not adding anyone, I think you see Leggett go 20, 25 picks earlier. Thielen would definitely be a guy that the market, and I'm not editorializing on this, I'm just saying the market would punish Thielen in a Tet drop way more than they would Leggett or Coker. They're just always going to punish the veteran who is more volume dependent. And the thought would be Tet would eat into to his. But Leggett, you're playing as the wide receiver 2 outside burner. Coker, you're playing as the slot outside guy. I just think there's room for all of those ADPs to exist in a scenario where people start to get excited about Bryce Young, about a second-year breakout. All right. I've selected Tyler Algier too many times. I actually think he might be my most drafted running back. Let's get a rookie. Let's have some fun. Let's take DJ Giddens here as our running back 4. I definitely agree with this. Bryce Young would rise if they add a wide receiver 1. And again, partly because people would be more excited about Bryce Young, but also just because of stacking dynamics alone, right? I mean, right now you have all these rookies whose quarterbacks don't get pulled up because we don't know who their quarterback is going to be. But if you put Tet right now on the Panthers, all of a sudden the Tet drafter is looking to take Bryce Young and doesn't want to get boxed out. You look at this tier here, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud in round 11, Tua, Penix, JJ in 12, and then Bryce Young finally comes off in round 13 to the Leggett drafter. I would not be surprised to see a Tet drafter in this scenario pull the trigger on Bryce Young in the 11th or 12th round. So I think that would happen for sure in that scenario. The Carolina backdoor stack is still one of my favorite ones. What we saw from Bryce Young at the end of last year, the team just came out. It was actually a really funny quote that they were talking about Xavier Leggett. They were pumping up Xavier Leggett, but in a very backhanded way. They're like, we took a stab at DK Metcalf. We were interested in DK Metcalf, but now that we didn't get him, we're confident that Xavier Leggett could be the guy, which is a really hilarious way to spin saying, we don't think he could be the guy, which is why we wanted to add DK Metcalf. But it was good to hear that the team is excited about Leggett, even if he's better suited to be a number 2. I do think Tet would be an awesome fit. I mean, he's exactly what they need. And I think with Tet, Coker, Leggett, and Thielen, and then maybe you get a little bit more of a breakout too from Jatavian Sanders. I mean, that offense could easily beat ADP. So yeah, they are definitely going to be featured in my favorite backdoor stacks article here that I'm writing this week. Leggett doesn't seem like a good player, though. Feels very Chase Claypoolish. Chase Claypool had a very, very useful fantasy season as a rookie, and that player archetype doesn't have to be #good at football to pay off their ADP in best ball. A player like Xavier Leggett, who, if Bryce Young takes the leap, if this offense is improved next year, just by being on the field, just by being a guy who gets loose for some deep balls, you can pay off your ADP in this range. And I think that's the thing we get tripped up on, is what you need to be a hit in round 11, round 12 is really not that much. All right, what do we want to do here? What do we want to do? Man, we could take Matthew Stafford as our QB3. We do have Kyren. I do like getting the 3 here. Yeah, man, I do not like this spot. Ugh, this is what happens when you don't take enough wide receivers early, guys. This is what happens. You get put in some gross spots. Dontavian Wicks comes off the board right after me. I guess I could have pulled him up. And I do think I'm very I understand scrutinizing these specific profiles. I mean, what else are we going to do with our time? You know, how else are we going to beat the market and beat ADP? But the whole point of stacking is, 1, reducing the number of things we have to get right, and 2, kind of showing some humility. Like, I didn't show enough humility last year with the Quentin Johnston kind of thing, because all of the things we were saying, you know, about a guy like Leggett, we were saying about Quentin Johnston last year as well. And it is not as frequent, or it doesn't occur at a high frequency, that those guys who are really inefficient as rookies bounce back. That's not a profile you typically want to be chasing. But if you do it in the context of buying in on an offense that is priced really cheaply, you can get wins out of that. And to me, the Panthers just check the boxes of almost all the characteristics I'm looking for in a breakout offense. A young QB who showed promise, young-ish wide receivers who we haven't seen fully develop yet. Like, there is meat on the bone there. Does it mean it's for sure going to happen? Absolutely not. But it feels like there could be a windfall there relative to ADP. Let's grab another rookie wide receiver. Jack Bech. Is that how we're saying his name? Bech. We just need some more upside on this team. So here we are through 16 rounds. 3, 4, 7, 2. Jayden Daniels, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Kyren Williams, Quinshon Judkins, Tony Pollard, DJ Giddens, 7 wide receivers now: CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Luther Burden, Jalen McMillan, Romeo Doubs, Jalen Coker, Jack Bech, and tight ends George Kittle and Tucker Kraft. Wasn't QJ basically free? Relative to ADP, this price for Leggett is free, $140. I always reference this, but I do think it's really helpful for kind of understanding like where ADP matters and where it doesn't. So last year, one of the first videos I made on the Deposit Kingdom channel was the scroll the F down video. And part of the reason why scrolling the F down is viable in even best ball drafts that go 18 or 20 rounds is ADP ceases to be a predicting factor for performance around pick 130 to 140. At that point, everyone is throwing darts. You can look at the curve. Sacrilegious had put this together in an article for Legendary Upside, and the market is really good with ADP at forecasting performance early in the draft. If you take a 6th round player with your 3rd round pick, you are hemorrhaging value. If you take a 20th round player with your 14th round pick, it is indistinguishable in the value and the predictive nature of that ADP. So when we're talking about Xavier Leggett at 140, there is no difference between him and a Quentin Johnston going at pick 165 last year. It is the same meaning. They're just ordered by necessity of how ADP works, but as it actually plays out, there's no difference in those late round picks, which is why you should just go get your guys in these drafts after that point. You really truly can click around and get your favorites and know that you're not, leaking value. All right, let's grab another rookie running back here. We'll do Brashard Smith. I guess I could, or should I show some humility and take Austin Eckler on this Washington stack? Man, that feels so bad. Should we do it? 186. This is where I'm going to do it. We have Jayden Daniels. Even though every part of me wants to take Brashard Smith, who we still might be able to get, if it's correlated and it's past ADP, even though I just said ADP doesn't matter here. Let's get one other Washington piece here with Jayden Daniels, since I got boxed out everywhere else. Ant-Man says, everyone is saying this is a weak wide receiver class. Why are we drafting even more of these guys who just aren't good? I think the ADP market reflects the strength of the class. Like these players, Golden, Egbuka, Luther Burden, they are going in a range where every year we see the late round 1, early round 2 picks go. This is the same pocket that the Keon Coleman, the Ladd McConkey, the Brian Thomases all went. When people throw the qualifiers, this is a good class, this is a bad class, they're generally speaking to two things. One, either how strong the class is at the top of the board, or they're talking about the depth. This class isn't very deep at wide receiver, but that's reflected in these ADPs. Like none of these guys are getting outrageously priced right now. There's a big gap between where the projected round 1 guys are going and the flyers. And the reason they still get drafted is the age-old story of why we prioritize rookies. Because of all of these guys, they have the best chance to wildly outperform their draft capital. Is it going to be one of those things where you have to crack a lot of eggs to make an omelet? Absolutely. But they still represent the best asymmetric upside late in these drafts. All right, we're at a 3.572. Looks like we could swing back to a wide receiver here. And speaking of which here, do we want to just take another rookie wide receiver? Who should we do? Should we do Tory Horton? Just keep taking some stabs at rookies here? Sure. Tory Horton, come on down. Yes. Oh, look we have a Burden in the chat. Luther Burden and now Walter Burden. Walter says, I actually thought Eckler looked a little less washed last year. Yeah, I agree. And his ADP, if they don't draft a running back with any significant capital will probably inch up this year. Still should catch some passes. I mean, the wide receiver class feels weak because last year's was loaded. You know, that's the issue. We've been coming off a couple years of loaded classes. But if you think through like the NFL and how things are shifting, so many teams still need pass catchers. There's almost like not a single team in the league you could go through and say like, oh yeah, they could use another dart at wide receiver. Even the loaded teams would happily, stock up again. And you see it like with the Niners last year, right? It's like you took Pearsall. It's like, look at how quickly things change. Brandon Ayuk's outlook feels very murky. Deebo Samuel leaves in a trade to the Commanders. And all of a sudden, this opportunity opens up. And so I think being willing to take darts on these rookies is obviously before the draft. They can bank really good landing spots. If they have the profiles where they can get there on their talent and earn a role, you just have multiple outs. Obviously injury, because that black box nature of what if they're really good is just so valuable for our best ball teams. All right, we got 2 more picks. We're at a 3-5-8-2. I think, I've been selecting so much Harold Fannin. I do really like him a good bit. I don't know if this team needs Fannin. Let's do another rookie wide receiver. Should we do Savion Williams? We're just we're going to try to make up with our lack of wide receiver depth in the mid-range with a bunch of these rookie darts. So we're up to 9 wide receivers now, which I think should be adequate after we were very light through our first 4 wide receivers. So CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Luther Burden, Jalen McMillan. And then we did Romeo Doubs, Jalen Coker, Jack Bech, Tory Horton, and Savion Williams. Tight end, George Kittle, Tucker Kraft. And now we can kind of decide, and I'll let you guys, what do you think? Is this a 6th running back or a 3rd tight end? Probably a 6th running back, right? If we can find someone we like. Kyren, Quinshon, Judkins, Tony Pollard, Giddens, Eckler. Probably throw a wide receiver, or sorry, a running back dart. Yeah, I almost took Felton. When I made the Travis Hunter video, his ADP was 130 and he's up to 94. So he's up 45 spots. I don't know what you're saying. He only went up 9 spots. Yeah, the screenshot in the video from the ADP is 130. It's not the video that's doing it though. It's that people are finally realizing, and because of how the draft board is shaking out in the real life NFL draft, that it's becoming more and more likely that the team that drafts him is going to use him at wide receiver. And a lot of the GM speak, the coach speak is starting to reflect that. And I think that sentiment is starting to percolate into the best ball space. But Chad says the video started the snowball rolling down the mountain. Yeah, Harmon put out his success rate charts, saw those floating around on Twitter this past week. I believe it was an all-green chart, which Roma Dunze, I think Harmon said, was the only other wide receiver he charted who had the all-green as far as all of his different routes. All right, you guys get to make this pick for me. Is it going to be a rookie tight end or a rookie running back? So Elijah Arroyo, Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin Jr., Jordan James, Jaden Blue, or Marcus Yarns? Give me a vote. Give me a vote. We got 20 seconds for the chat to decide. I think this should be a running back. There's a Jordan James. There's one blue. It looks like Jordan James won the votes. It looks like Jordan James won the votes. LaQuinta was off the board. LaQuinta was off the board for that pick. All right. Here's the final team. 3692. Jayden Daniels, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Kyren Williams, Quinshon Judkins, Tony Pollard, DJ Giddens, Austin Eckler, Jordan James at running back. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Luther Burden, Jalen McMillan, Romeo Doubs, Jalen Coker, Jack Bech, Tory Horton, Savion Williams at wide receiver, George Kittle, Tucker Kraft. So things that I like being able to pull off that Jordan Love backdoor double. I like that I have significant upside at all of the positions. George Kittle can give me those high-end spike weeks. Jayden Daniels can give me the high-end spike weeks. We know Kyren can operate as a bell cow. CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, a nice 1-2 punch. Where I think this team is weak, and I'm just doing all of Steph's work for her now. Is Steph even in the chat to grade this? I'm having to self-grade. This team definitely played fast and loose at wide receiver. Only 4 wide receivers through 130 picks. I think I recovered decently. Doubs, Coker, and then 3 rookie darts. But I mean, this wide receiver room could look laughably weak at points during the season. So we're going to really need a hit out of like a Burden or McMillan. Like one of those has to hit, I think, for this team to work. And then obviously one of the back end rookie darts. And then the running back room is solid, but not great. And this is what happens, right? When you get the elite tight end, when you get the elite quarterback, you're going to feel the weakness in some of these rooms or other spots. So not my favorite team I've drafted. I did like that I was able to eke out a little bit of correlation. Daniels and Eckler, Stafford and Kyren. Obviously, if those offenses are humming, the quarterback and running back pairings there should help out a little bit. But yeah, an okay team, probably a C+. Probably a C+. All right. I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I wanted to do a bigger board draft here. I have 2 more bullets here. So if you guys want to join me, we need 5 people. And I need to blow my nose. I will throw the ducks on. I'm going to blow my nose, wait for a few of you guys to fill this, and we can do a bigger board. This is $100 entry, only $2,200. Entrance, $30K to first. Nice small contest here. 4 of 12 advance in round 1, 2 of 8, 1 of 8, and then a 23-seat final. Let me throw the ducks on. Let me blow my nose. I'll be back. All right, we got the 1-8 in the big board. Looks like a lot of friends and family here. I see G Draps in here again. Patrick Barnes YouTube, the infamous Patrick Barnes YouTube. Crutches, Lou and Brew. We'll see if Lou and Brew flips the board from this other side. All right, let's do it. I also need to see if I have any more coffee left. This is bottom of the barrel when I have to take the lid off to make sure I get what's left. Sorry, the acoustics aren't going to be as good when I had to take off the lid. Man, and here I thought I was over my stomach bug and needing to puke. And then I read a comment that says, you should pick Kenny Pickett as QB3 after loading up on Njoku, Judy, and Tillman. Best value on the board. I could not disagree more about the Kenny Pickett sentiment. For one, Kenny Pickett sucks. For two, Kirk Cousins is seeming like he is going to find his way to Cleveland. Three, they could still take Shedeur Sanders. I would not be selecting Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was picked up by them to be their backup quarterback. And I actually wrote about this a couple weeks ago. You just don't need to be taking on the risk of these guys. Look what happened when I fucked around with the Jameis Winston picks 2 weeks ago. That looked horribly less than a day or two after I did that. Just say no to Kenny Pickett. You can draft the Cleveland guys, the pass catchers, but you don't need to bother with the stack. With spot 20, there is no risk. There is absolutely risk. I wrote about this in an article on Fantasy Life, but the number one risk, the number one thing that submarines a fantasy team is a zero, specifically zero at the onesie position. If you are immediately taking a zero at a position, you are going to have less of a chance than your competitors to advance through the playoffs. And some zeros we can't control, right? Injuries, yada, yada. But we can control zeros by not taking backup quarterbacks who have zero job security. All right, let's take Nico Collins. We're in the big boy draft. No more fucking around. Nico Collins, BPA. Let's go. I'm taking the L on the Jameis thing. I mean, I'm using that as an illustration of how poorly that can go. But the difference between the Jameis and the Kenny Pickett thing is we know Jameis's game is fantasy friendly. At least if you're right, you're going to get fantasy points. With Kenny Pickett, you're having to hit essentially a 3-leg parlay. They don't sign Kirk Cousins. They don't draft a quarterback. And he finally shows some fantasy upside to his game. I don't really see how you can tell yourself a story about upside for Kenny Pickett as a fantasy asset. He doesn't run a lot, not an accurate thrower. You're not going to have plentiful weapons in Cleveland. I don't get it. Who is your Brock Bowers of 2025? We'll have to see after the NFL draft. I mean, the closest thing I had to a Brock Bowers, like Travis Hunter was just my one huge stand, thinking he was egregiously mispriced. But I think a lot more takes will form after the NFL draft. I mean, Bowers got cheaper because people were scared of the Raiders situation. So those are actually kind of the buying opportunities we're looking for. You know, a rookie that we really like, perhaps, who goes to a landing spot that doesn't seem as attractive. You know, I could see something. I don't want to compare Tyler Warren to Brock Bowers, but I could see Tyler Warren going to the Colts and everyone just being like, fuck this. I'm not dealing with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And all of a sudden, Tyler Warren becomes an extreme value in contests. I mean, those are kind of the situations I think we're looking for. Speak of the devil, if you're going to give me Brock Bowers at ADP, I'm going to click it. Those are the rules. Those are the rules. Hell, if you give me Brock Bowers ahead of ADP, I'm going to click it. So yes, I will take Brock Bowers at pick 17. Rock says Pickett at least won a Super Bowl. Cousins is a dusty old injury-prone bum. Rock, I'm not going to have this conversations anymore. You do not have my blessing to draft Kenny Pickett, but I am not going to tell you what to do. I want you to live your best life. I want you to have fun drafting. I want you to go get your guys, but I am out of the Kenny Pickett discourse. I have already discussed Kenny Pickett enough. I could list off a lot of backup quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls who are not fantasy relevant. I can't believe I just got hit with a QB Super Bowl wins argument for Kenny Pickett. This is almost as bad of a take as Kenny Pickett. 0% Bowers this year, and I sleep like a baby every night. That's an absolutely wild take. I have no problem if someone wants to say, I want to be underweight or whatever. But a 0% to the tight end who could absolutely destroy and be the guy you need seems like a really, really poor stance across a lot of entries. If you're playing any kind of volume and full fading a guy that you absolutely could have to win, to advance, not going to be me. Not going to be me. We're going to be selecting Brock Bowers at 1.5, 1.6 next year at this time. But like the Kenny Pickett guy, I'm not going to tell people how to live their life. But I would say my advice, even if you want to fade Brock Bowers, have yourself a little exposure blanket. Have yourself a little 4% exposure blanket. It'll keep you very warm when Brock Bowers is averaging 18 fantasy points per game through the fantasy playoffs. Bowers has 0 Super Bowls. You're right. That's why we got to take Travis Kelce. Nico Collins, Brock Bowers to start. Genty, who went 101 last draft, goes pick 14 here to crutches. Drake London, AJ Brown go at the 1-2 turn to Lewin Brew. Man, that's the highest I've seen London. What's London's ADP? 16? Yeah, I don't see him go at the 1-2 turn much. I can't with this guy. Rock Hard Castle says, that a Pickett, Judy, Njoku stack is the tits. You're going to do it at least once off stream. God, the second I get off this stream, once I'm in the privacy of my own home, I'm going to grab my phone. I'm going to put my hood up. I'm going to go in the corner. I'm going to fire up a big board draft.
Fine, let me get one of these. Let me get one of these fucking these Kenny Pickett stacks. I would never admit it to the chat that I wanted one of these, but now that nobody's looking, I'm gonna fucking get Njoku. Oh fucking yeah, I'm gonna bust so hard. Oh, Kenny Pickett, yes.
I don't know what else to say about this. You know who I haven't selected? I do not think I've selected DJ Moore yet this draft season. Let's grab DJ Moore. Last draft, we took Kyren here and then got kind of semi-buried by a wide receiver avalanche. Let's go ahead and draft DJ Moore. Tyler says, hope you're feeling better after the Rodgers cleanse. Yes. I got all the benefits, all of the downsides of ayahuasca, the throwing up, with none of the fun part. No hallucinations, no visions from God. But I did do the throwing up part. And I do feel much closer to my Lord and Savior. Nico Collins, Brock Bowers, DJ Moore start. It is weird that we haven't still gotten any news on Keenan Allen. It sounds like the most likely thing is he resigns with Chicago, but just weird that it's taking this long. Has anyone seen any quotes? I mean, I cover the news most days for the newsletter, and I haven't seen much from Keenan Allen's camp. I don't really know what they're waiting for. Ooh, okay. I see what Lou and Brew is doing now from the 12. Went A.J. Brown and then grabbed Devontae and Jalen Hurts to pull up that double stack there. I don't mind that. Just have to do a couple slight reaches to pull it off. All right, let's see here. What are we going to do? Man, we're talking about what is the right price for Breece Hall. He does go here at pick 40, so falls a decent bit here. I will go ahead and take my first stab. Man, this is so hard for me between Chase Brown and Omarion Hampton. Let's get Omarion Hampton share here. Let's get a share. Omarion Hampton at pick 41. I do think he's going to be kind of locked and loaded third round pick for most of the summer after the draft. Obviously, there's scenarios where he stays in this range or he drops a little bit. But as we discussed in that first draft, the Omarion Hampton buzz in regards to the NFL draft is so strong right now that we'll go ahead and grab a share. Los Angeles rumored to sign Keenan after the draft. Which Los Angeles? Going back to the Chargers or the Rams? The Rams just add all the old vets. Keenan, Devontae Adams, Puka. Talk about that would be like the greatest wide receiver room of all time just by like pure football talent. All right, Rock. Time to find a new slant. Yeah, Keenan and Big Mike all back in Los Angeles would be hilarious. Can they call up Austin Eckler too while they're at it? Maybe see if Phillip Rivers wants to come out of retirement. Who retires first out of those? I mean, it has to be Keenan. Keenan seems like he's got one more season in him before he's like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. Yeah, I guess the other thing I could have done where I took Hampton was I could have taken Rome if I wanted to set up the premium double stack with Caleb, but in general, I don't love doing that, especially because I think there's definitely scenarios where both those guys could smash. But I'd rather kind of make my bet between those two. And if I'm going to take DJ Moore, I'd kind of rather play it as DJ Moore remains the alpha. Because Rome is a risky pick, right? Like, I definitely see the paths to a second-year breakout with him, but there's also ways it could go wrong just based on what we saw from him in year one. And so maybe where I settle on it is that I wouldn't avoid it if I could get it at a good value, but probably not going out of my way to force DJ Moore round 3, Rome round 4. This does feel like I will need to select a wide receiver here. At least we got some cheap quarterbacks so far that we'll be able to do. Let's go ahead and take Chris Olave. I think this works out fine. Chris Olave at pick 56. Again, not the sexiest pick, but a very nice discount on where he was going last year. Considering he was going 3 rounds earlier than this. So we'll lock up Chris Olave. And now we have Nico Collins, DJ Moore, and Chris Olave. Look at this. I just got 3 2024 second-round picks on my team. Blessed. So blessed. Connor says, if Keenan resigns, Rome is in trouble, plus new coaching staff. I don't know how you can spin the new coaching staff as anything but a positive. I mean, you are getting one of the biggest possible upgrades to Ben Johnson from what they had last year. So that part of it, I don't agree with. But I definitely agree that Keenan has shown an ability throughout his career to earn targets, and that is going to come at the expense of one of Rome or DJ Moore being a true alpha target hog. So that part I can buy a little bit more. But the coaching staff, I mean, the whole reason we're excited about this entire Bears offense is because of the coaching staff. Keenan's agent wants him in LA eating fish tacos instead of Chicago deep dish. That's true. Got to get him out of there. Too many hot dogs and deep dish. Christopher Davis says Olave is like dating your mom's best friend, security and familiar, but you're not telling your friends. Well, I just told all of the Best Ball Breakfast viewers. I did it in plain sight. Got to stack up the Joe Thuney offense. That's a good Davis Maddock callback there. If you guys are interested in the Dynasty streets or just another lens of thinking about these rookies, we did a very fun rookie draft on Chip Chasing last week. Myself, Pat Davis, of course, but then we had Ron Stewart, Ray GQ, and Blair Andrews from RotoViz. Did a 2-round Dynasty rookie Superflex mock draft. Had a lot of fun with that. All right, I was hoping Jawan Jennings would fall to me. I'm not going to get shut out at wide receiver this draft, so I'm going to go ahead and grab Deebo Samuel here. Even though there are some running backs on the board. Wanted to get Deebo Samuel last draft with Jayden Daniels. I'll take him a couple picks past ADP. And through 6 rounds here in this bigger board, $100 draft, we got Omarion Hampton as our anchor RB at pick 41. We got our 4 wide receivers, Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel, and Brock Bowers here at tight end. And then I think we'll probably like the running back available to us in the 7th round if we want to go that route. We got stacking options for quarterbacks available here. Although, man, I think I might rather take Kenny Pickett than Derek Carr. I mean, not quite, but it feels close. How's my Dinger team doing? Man, I'll admit I haven't checked in on my Dinger team yet. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I actually didn't end up drafting a Dinger team because the one time we did the frozen rope, I'm in 10th place. That doesn't seem good. And then we did the solo shot. I'm in 7th place. It's a long season, though. It's a long season. So everybody just relax about my frozen rope and solo shots. I'm a grower, not a shower when it comes to MLB best ball. Wow. Maybe I played this wrong because we now see, what did we get? 5 running backs came off the board after I took Deebo. Kamara, Trevion, Judkins, Najee, Tyrone Tracy. And then I'm just looking at a wall of yellow. So maybe I am going to just get my 5th wide receiver here. I guess there are a couple options at running back if we want to go that route. But might actually end up being a 5th wide receiver here, depending on how the value pockets shake out. Man, the torpedo bats. John and I did an entire MLB show yesterday and somehow avoided the phrase torpedo bat. Shout outs to us. George Pickens, Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden. Let's see what Bagel FTN does. Man, that actually bums me out because they auto-drafted James Conner. G wasn't going to take his 4th running back. Bagel took his 4th. I was going to be pretty stoked to get James Conner at picks 80. And then that does not happen. because Bagel autos his 4th running back there. We took Luther Burden last draft. Should today be Luther Burden day? We could also take Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren ahead of ADP doesn't feel great. Let's get our 5th wide receiver. You know what? I do still like Burden over Igbuka. Let's do a double Burden day. And because we had someone with the last name Burden actually in the chat, it is my cross to bear 2 Luther Burden shares today. I'm tilted about the James Conner auto pick, though. I was sitting there thinking, ooh, this broke perfectly. And then this guy had to auto James Conner as his 4th running back with only 2 wide receivers. And Burden may be drafted by Cleveland, setting up that QB stack. Crutches just got sniped on 2 rookie wide receivers. Yeah, the Jaylen Warren stuff's interesting. I wrote up a blurb in the Fantasy Life newsletter. There was a quote from the team. You know, we view Jaylen Warren as a starter capable, I think was the phrase they used, which felt like just kind of classic lip service. The sweat with Jaylen Warren is obviously just how much draft capital they invest in a running back. It's not if they invest, it's just how much. We know they're going to draft a running back. And the later that pick is, you know, the better chance Jaylen Warren has, you know, a chance at an expanded role. Travis Hunter goes 85. I don't even get a crack at Travis Hunter at 89. I don't think Jaylen Warren's a bad pick here. I mean, this is where he was going last year, and you have outs to an increase in value if the draft capital isn't there for the running back. All right, let's see here. We could do quarterback. I think we're still looking cozy. Josh Downs here. I think we grab another Tony Pollard share, get our 2nd running back on this team. I like Pollard paired with Hampton. We did what? Pollard Judkins pairing last draft. Now we do Pollard Hampton. Our 2nd duplicated pick on these drafts, Pollard and Luther Burden. But needed a 2nd running back here. Tony Pollard, slightly cheaper version of the James Conner bet you're making with a veteran anchor. I guess the argument and why Tony Pollard's cheaper than Conner is Tyjae Spears looked like way more of a threat at the end of last year than, say, Trey Benson did. But still think Tony Pollard and just the way this offense operates, especially with a rookie quarterback, they're still going to have plenty of running back touches to go around. And Tony Pollard was good last year. Seemed to be able to handle the increased workload. Yeah, this is another good point too of like, what are the backfields where there's landmines coming? And I believe it's Tennessee. They have the 101 pick. They have their pick at the top of the 2nd round, but then they don't have a 3rd round pick. So even if they did add a running back late, it would probably be a 5th, 6th round pick. But without that 3rd round pick, they just don't seem to really even have the luxury of thinking about a running back, which then insulates the Pollard Tyjae Spears value a good bit. So we got a 2-5-1 going here in this draft. We started with Nico Collins, took Brock Bowers at 17, came back, scooped up DJ Moore, wrestled with the 4th round selection, and ultimately pulled the trigger on Omarion Hampton. Came back with a couple of wide receivers here, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel, Luther Burden, second time today, and then Tony Pollard there at pick 89. Brock Purdy, Jared Goff off the board. Let's see if Bagel FTN is still auto drafting here as the clock bleeds down. Let's see what the pick will be. Mark Andrews. Looking at Mark Andrews here for Bagel. It would appear so. Bagel FTN auto drafting off of the big board here. I think I dodged a bullet there for sure with the auto drafts, because the next player up by ADP was Caleb Williams, which I would like for my DJ Moore stack. Grab my first quarterback here past ADP. So that would have sucked if I got sniped again on an auto pick there. So we lock up Caleb Williams at 104 and get Caleb Williams stacked up with DJ Moore, which feels good. Let's see here. Looking at where I pick next. All right. This is such an interesting decision point here. This is like a total choose your fighter. Tyler Warren, Travis Kelce, back-to-back in ADP, best available. There are 2 wolves inside you. Are you a Travis Kelce drafter or are you a Tyler Warren? Lewin Brew goes with Tyler Warren. All right, I think I know what I am going to do here. I think what I want to do is lock up CJ Stroud at pick 113. It's ahead of ADP, but here's what's not going to happen. Biff Tannen has Christian Kirk and has 2 picks before I pick at 128. So he's not going to let Stroud go by him twice with only 1 quarterback, Goff. And this is such kind of like a blah tier to me here that I would rather just lock up my stack with Stroud and Nico and move along here. Yeah, welcome to the auto thing. G just got sniped on Herbert. Oh no, this isn't Bagel. Someone else just took him. Yeah, unstacked Herbert as a QB3. There's some sick shit going on in this room. This is why you just can't even mess around with quarterback. You just can't. You can't mess around with it. WFN Warehouse says, can we get a Best Ball Breakfast Invitational, Gritty Rock, and any other Best Ball extremists? I thought, how did this show become the place for Best Ball extremists? We had Razor on last week. We have a Kenny Pickett stan in the chat. I thought Liam's channel was supposed to be the place that all of the Best Ball extremists hang out and found a home of like-minded individuals. I thought I'm supposed to be the centrist over here. The voice of reason. How am I a magnet for this kind of behavior? Bagel FTN with the double Andrews Kelsey. All right, you guys get, so my wife is placing a lunch order for us today. We don't have much food in the house because we've all been sick. So you guys get to help me workshop my lunch order from this place. I'll tell you some of the things I'm considering. And I have basically only had just like bland starches for the past 72 hours. Had toast. I had pancakes for dinner last night because that was all that sounded good to me. But I'm thinking like a solid sandwich today, roasted turkey flatbread, a rotisserie chicken salad. Honestly, I'm kind of craving the chicken salad. Sounds decent to me. They do have a marinated pork banh mi, but that seems a little too adventurous coming off of the sickness. They do also have breakfast sandwiches. If I wanted to do just like an egg and cheese, I think I'm leaning rotisserie chicken salad, honestly. Either that or roasted turkey flatbread. Order a steak like a man. I'm coming off of a severe illness where my stomach cannot keep anything down. I have to ease my way back into this, guys. You got to put yourself in my shoes. All right, I think I'm going with, I'm telling her the rotisserie chicken salad. Haters can hate. That's what my body needs right now. Just making sure there's nothing else I should get. This place does have good pastries, though. Maybe I indulge with a pastry. All right, we are on the clock here. Let's do I haven't gotten to select much Colston Loveland. Pretty stoked on what I think his draft capital could be. I think going to somewhere like the Jets could be solid. I think his game is pretty fantasy friendly as well. We'll pair Colston Loveland with Brock Bowers. Yeah, this place doesn't have smoothies, but I like where your head's at. A smoothie does sound good. I know, I don't think this place has soup either. There's sandwiches and salads. They have good pastries. Colston Loveland is my most drafted tight end. I've been more on the super late dart throws, the Fannin, Mason Taylor, Arroyo, but I've been trying to prioritize some more Loveland. Here's the team so far. Through 11 rounds, we're battling in the bigger board, I should say. This is a $100 draft. We got some sharks in here, and we also have some auto drafters and people doing wild stuff. Silver Lightning and Bagel FTN are doing weird stuff. Everyone else mostly staying in their lane. I have Caleb Williams stacked up with DJ Moore, CJ Stroud with Nico Collins. We got two running backs, Omarion Hampton and Tony Pollard. We got our 5 wide receivers along with Nico and DJ Moore. We got Olave, Deebo Samuel, and Luther Burden. And then we got Brock Bowers and Colston Loveland here. This feels like probably a good opportunity to take a third running back. I think this is a third running back here. We could also do Trey Harris. I don't have a ton of Trey Harris, but I think I kind of like getting a third running back in this range. Honestly, we could do the double tap on Spears. I don't hate that. Let's Let's grab Devin Neal. Get another rookie in here. Last draft, we did kind of see the running back run happen. So trying to get out in front of that a little bit so I don't get super thin. Omarion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Devin Neal. Definitely need to keep throwing some darts here. Pollard is great. Spears is a bum. I disagree with that. Spears played really well down the stretch last year when he got a few of those starts. They were trusting him at the goal line. He can catch passes. He's elusive. I think it's fine if you want to say you think Pollard is better than Spears. I mean, they play the game differently, but to call Spears a bum doesn't seem fair to me. Wow, look at everybody so polarized by Tony Pollard. What more do you need to see from Tony Pollard last year? Tony Pollard was a legit workhorse who was putting up solid scores in one of the worst offenses in football, where it's hard to get positive game scripts. Now you're going to get a quarterback upgrade. We already discussed they're very unlikely to invest significant capital in the position. Look at all these extremist takes. Here I am having to serve as the centrist on both Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard. Trey Harris goes 139 after me. Need to take a look at one other thing on the board that I'm thinking through. Decent amount of quarterbacks still on the board here. So that this secondary pocket, this is the pocket that can sometimes fly off the shelves. But Tua, Cam Ward, Stafford, Bryce Young, all chilling out. Let's see, who's Bagel going to auto? Is Bagel going to auto J.K. Dobbins here at pick 150? 13 picks past ADP. J.K. Dobbins, another kind of loose end from free agency. Still doesn't have a team. But he will now have a manager in Bagel FTN. I'm going to do the Spears thing. I'm going to double tap this. One, to trigger all of the extremists. Two, because it's a strong value around here. And then three, because I do think they can both pay off their ADPs at this cost. I think they both can be involved and have standalone value without necessarily one of them getting hurt. And then if one of them does get hurt, then you have a pretty big windfall there. So we're going to grab Tyjae Spears at pick 152 there. Omarion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Devin Neal, Tyjae Spears. They are polarized. I like that. I see what you did there, Justin. Do you like Russell Wilson late? No, I don't. But in the same way that I selected Jameis Winston, if I had a neighbor's squad and you were completely boxed out at quarterback, I could see him as a QB3. But again, I still think you're playing with fire a little bit. I don't think it's completely off the table that they would still take Shedeur Sanders if he's there at 1-3. Then all of a sudden your late season expectation for Wilson is really, really in question. I think Russell Wilson it's almost like the inverse of last year, where he's a really, really strong bet to start the season. I think they brought him in to be the starter pretty clearly, but I do not feel confident that he will be starting weeks 15 through 17. Imwald finally made it to work. Let's go. Hopefully your commute on the way back home is not as bad. What would you put the over-under game started this year for Russ? I think someone asked me this earlier, and I do think my line was a little lower than this. I want to say I said like 7.5. Let's split the difference between your line, my line, 8.5. That sounds about right. And obviously that number, is really fragile right now, right? Because it's either going to go way up because they don't draft Sanders, or if they draft Sanders, then I think that number goes down. But I don't know why we should be expecting Russell Wilson to cook in New York. I mean, I guess maybe Neighbors just makes him look so good, and he does kind of what he did in Pittsburgh, and he just holds on to the job. All right. You know what so there's two things. I think I'm just going to lock up, I'm going to lock up Geno Smith as my third quarterback here. I did really want to take Cedric Tillman for the bit and to lock up, to set up a Kenny Pickett selection that I was never going to make, but let's go ahead and grab Geno. I do like getting the 3 quarterbacks, and I do love, able to stack up my top 3 picks. Obviously not a necessity, but just feels cozy. Nico with Stroud, Brock with Geno, DJ Moore with Caleb. My 3 biggest investments in this draft, bringing their quarterbacks along for the ride. Where is Tyreek going? I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he just likes getting attention on social media and likes pretending that he's unsatisfied or that he's thinking about something else. But even the team has already come out. I think it was Mike McDaniel who said, we're in a good place with Tyreek right now. He just likes to stir stuff up on social media. Tyreek Hill, just like us, all looking for attention and validation on social media. Can we get a live look in on Davis and Liam live on stream? Oh man, yeah. If you missed the Swolecast yesterday, we pulled up Liam. Maybe at the end of this draft. How are we still doing this with Tyjae Spears? Tyjae Spears has no CL tendonitis and cartilage loss. How did he score all of those fantasy points at the end of last year with no ACL, tendonitis, and cartilage? How did he have multiple games of 20 plus points with none of those things? We got to update our talking points. You need a new talking point if you're anti Tyjae Spears. I'm open to arguments, but we need good ones. That's not a good one. We're at a 3-4-5-2. We're rock solid at quarterback and tight end. We're going to need to grab some more wide receivers here. Definitely running backs too. It's probably running backs and wide receivers from here on out. Yes, this is the argument. If I'm wrong about them the Titans investing serious capital at the running back position, and it turns into a bit of a mess. They draft a really exciting rookie, but like I said, they don't have a 3rd round pick, right? I'm not making that up. I want to say I looked at this the other day. They have the 101, they have the pick at the top of the 2nd, and then no 3rd round pick. They have a lot of needs on that team too. It would be a real misallocation of resources to invest anything significant. All right, let's do Elic Ayomanor. Is that how you say his name, guys? Let's grab another wide receiver here that has a little bit of upside juice here. His draft capital projections still seem pretty solid. We'll take a stab on him as our wide receiver 6. I am not selecting Austin Eckler again, though. I refuse. Thank you, Lutz. Lutz drumming up some likes for us. 62 is way too low. If you're watching, assuming you're not commuting to work. If you're commuting to work, keep your hands at 10 and 2. Eyes on the road. I'll continue to service you as a quasi-audio listener. Otherwise, if you got the finger on the mouse, smash the like button. If you guys are new, Best Ball Breakfast is normally not on Wednesdays, but had to postpone. I was sick as a dog on Monday. Going forward, Best Ball Breakfast will be on Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I will be expanding, doing some more streams once Best Ball Mania hits. We'll be adding some shows, and I'm still trying to figure out my exact schedule and how I want to do it, but I have some fun ideas. So we'll get those firmed up, and I will let you guys know about that. But getting excited for a big summer. We're going to also have a lot of videos on the Deposit Kingdom channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed over there. I've put out a couple in the past month. We had the Travis Hunter video and then a Donald Trump video that got some good feedback on. So go watch that if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet. All right, we're about to be on the clock in round 16. We got a 3-4-6-2 cooking here. Like I said, pretty set at quarterback and tight end. Let's grab another rookie running back here. Let's do Damian Martinez. I think we were eyeing him last draft. What is really funny is like imagine the Titans take Damian Martinez, and then I've done the rare triple handcuff. But our running back room now, 3 rookies in the Tennessee backfield. I don't hate it. Omarion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Devin, Neal, Tyjae Spears, and Damian Martinez. This is a good question. Who do you feel underweight to and scared about being wrong on so far? That's a good question. Let me scan through. So someone I think I'm underweight on and would be scared would be Terry McLaurin. I've just preferred other wide receivers in this range. I would be taking Mike Evans, Devontae Smith, Devontae Adams over him. He's just a guy I haven't been getting to a lot and think his ADP is a bit fragile, but I can totally see that burning me again. And I do think Terry McLaurin's one of those polarizing guys we have debates about a lot. And it's hard not to see how you get beat again. It's like Jayden Williams is so fucking good, and Terry McLaurin continues to be a boom bust guy who hits on a lot of big plays. But I just haven't found myself pulling the trigger much in the third. So yeah, I could feel that one biting me in the ass for sure. No CMC, and I'm terrified about it. I've sprinkled in some CMC. That's a scary one. That is definitely a scary one. I think it's fine to proceed with caution. Honestly, I kind of would view CMC similar to my Brock Bowers thing, where it's like, if you want to be underweight, fine, but I would want an exposure blanket. I think the fade would make a lot more sense if he was still going as a top 5, top 6 guy, and you're just like, man, I can just take Gibbs, I can just take Bijan instead and get similar bell cow upside or ceiling upside in the case of Gibbs. But at pick 116, Achane just was not good last year. Genty, we're obviously still waiting on the landing spot. Derrick Henry didn't catch any passes. His utilization score last year, week to week, was not inspiring whatsoever. You can make pretty strong case that Christian McCaffrey should be going ahead of all these guys. So, but I get it. It's not the fun Christian McCaffrey click that it used to be. Yeah, and I don't mind this. Tim says I always take Genty over CMC. And the reason I don't mind it is because of the two, Genty's the one that is more likely to rise. Once people get the landing spot, once they get the confirmation that he's a top 10 pick, once the coaching staff comes out and says, we're so excited to install Genty as our lead back, mean, even if he goes to the Bears, people are going to get real excited. Real excited. All right, I'm on the clock again here. What do we want to do? We did Besh last time. Did we do Brashard Smith last time too? Who do we want to do? Should we do another Besh? Sure. Let's do another Besh. Happy Jack Besh Day. We're up to a 3-5-7-2, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers. Are there any other stacking considerations I should make? Caleb Williams with Chicago. What do we have here for Bears? You take Roshan late, but that doesn't seem fun. Texans, Dameon Pierce, John Mechie. Oof. Basically, I'm hoping that one of these wide receivers goes to the Texans. Luther Burden to the Texans. That's not too much of a pipe dream. And then what do we... Yeah, there's nothing on the Raiders, right? Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker is one of those guys where probably not going to be a league winner, but could he give you like flashes of Rashid Shaheed? We've seen him just be good. I feel pretty confident that Trey Tucker's good. I actually kind of don't mind that as a low-owned correlated dart on a Geno Smith. Yeah, there you go. I didn't do Brashard Smith last time. All right. Thank you for the reminder. Is there anything easier in the world than talking shit about a player with an ADP of 240? Every player going after 230 is on the fringe of being an XFL player. Come on. Someone's going to have to give me the TLDR on Kyle Williams. I think, as I understand it, it was a guy that was getting no buzz, and then someone put him in like their top 5 wide receivers in a graphic that got circulated on social media, and now people are re-questioning it. Do I have it right? I think that's how I understood it. Let's grab Shipley. I do like Shipley. He's been a guy I've been selecting a decent bit at the back end of these drafts. Zach bearing his soul to us today, saying, I won't hide it. I've stacked Caleb with Zacchaeus. Yeah. Yeah, I guess if they don't bring back Keenan and Olamides in there in 3 wide receiver sets, it doesn't seem like the worst start. He was productive with Jayden last year. I just answered this question, Noah. It was a good question. Okay, Chris Sims ranked him as his 2nd wide receiver, and there was some buzz. Gotcha. What's his ADP these days? 214. Biff Tannen showing off that he's got noties turned on for Chris Sims. Three, 6, 7, 2. We are drafting in the bigger board. 4 of 12 advance here. We got Caleb stacked up with DJ Moore, Stroud stacked up with Nico, Geno stacked up with Bowers. Rounding out our running back and wide receiver rooms, up to 6 running backs here. Omarion Hampton kind of as our anchor here at pick 41. And then Pollard, Devin, Neal, Tyjae Spears, Damian Martinez, Will Shipley. Will Shipley, similar to what we were discussing with Spears and Pollard, I think the Eagles pretty unlikely to add a running back. They drafted Shipley last year, obviously rolling with Barkley. Shipley should take that number 2 spot pretty clearly with Gainwell out of the picture. Feels like a pretty safe kind of contingent running back selection there late. So 2 more picks. Definitely going to be taking one more wide receiver. And then I guess it's a bit of a dealer's choice. I kind of like the idea of taking Kendre Miller here. Another guy, again, the Saints, another one of these teams that does not really seem to have the luxury to select a running back high. So many other issues to shore up there. So if Kendre's kind of the locked and loaded RB2 there behind Kamara, that feels pretty good. And I already have Chris Olave. So getting some additional correlation around my third wide receiver feels nice. And then we can come back and pick a wide receiver here. I'll let you guys figure out which wide receiver. Chris G just trolling with the Trey Tucker selection. Trey Tucker wasn't even on Chris G's mind until a few minutes ago when I started waxing poetic about him. I thought you were a free thinker, Chris. You're just another streamer sheep. All right. Let's see here. You guys get to crowdsource my final wide receiver pick. I'll read off some of the options here. By ADP, Whittington, Gabe Davis, MVS, Keyshawn Butte, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Brandon Cooks, some rookies, Savion Williams, Devon Vele, Tory Horton. Ty Felton would be another guy. Gabe Davis here. I don't really think. Do we have any other correlation tiebreakers? We've done New Orleans. Nothing on Tennessee. Or otherwise just rookies here. I'm going to just take a rookie if I think what we did, Savion and Tory Horton last time. Let's do Ty Felton here. Big fast guy goes Burr. All right. Started with 4 veteran wide receivers and wrapped it up with 4 rookie wide receivers. Look at that beautiful symmetry. Photos and bumblebees, veterans and rookies. I like this team. I like this team better than the first big board I drafted, but we will let Steph. Oh shit, Steph said Gabe Davis feels all right. I could have drafted Gabe Davis to pander to Steph for a better grade. Man, I can't believe I missed out on that. Let me read off the team and then we'll see how Steph grades my bigger board team here. $100 contest on Underdog. We got 3 quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Geno Smith. 7 running backs, Omarion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Devin Neal, Tyjae Spears, Damian Martinez, Will Shipley, and Kendre Miller. 8 wide receivers, Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel, Luther Burden III, Elic, I will learn how to pronounce his name eventually, Ayomanor, Jack Bech, Ty Felton, and then 2 tight ends, Brock Bowers and Colston Loveland. Love the elite skinny stacks here at the top end of the board with Caleb, DJ, CJ, Nico, Geno, Bowers. I like the blend of veterans and rookies in both the running back and wide receiver room. Yeah, I like this one. I will let Steph though be the final arbiter on how this team shook out. 3-7-8-2. Generally end up going 3 tight ends in here, but with Bowers and then Loveland at 128. Whoa, A- from Steph. She says, Pete's doing better these days. A-, nice correlation and solid balance. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, this one feels pretty solid. Feels pretty solid. Need what? Obviously Burden and then maybe one of these rookie darts to hit. One of the rookie running back darts to hit, but pretty solid there. Glad we didn't mess around with QB in the mid-range, locked up CJ Stroud, and then was able to get those clean stacks with all of those. All right. Did I promise that we could check in on Davis and Liam real quick? And then I'm getting out of here. Let's see. The best fantasy football drafter on earth. Is he talking about himself or Liam? All right, let's tap in for a few seconds.
It worked really well, right? Like you can give the ball to John.
Well, it worked. It worked really good to easily miss the playoffs. To just be like a team that was like drawing dead. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, the Dolphins weren't good as a whole. That I'd say that had a lot to do with the fact that their O-line was bad, their D-line.
I love how I tuned in. Davis just snap picks Marvin Mims. Doesn't even ask Liam. Are they even deciding who they want together? Why are they streaming together if they're just drafting on their own?
It was bad. Like they didn't have a lot of good anywhere. But the idea that like Waddle
are they both in these rooms? Okay. All right. They're next to each other. I see. Okay.
and Tyreek can open up the field and you check it down to Jonnu, who can go score an 80-yard touchdown, like that will probably still be there, right? Is it going to be the focus?
Man, I thought I was going to tune in for some first take, like shouting. Have they? Are they in the boring stage now? They're just a married couple who just kind of knows about each other's faults and weaknesses, and they just kind of shrug it off. They're just beaten down. I need some feistiness here.
Focus point of the offense every single week? Probably not. I also think that it is a little bit true.
All right. You guys can go watch them on your own. I need to go get my sandwich that I think should be about ready by now. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this delayed Best Ball Breakfast stream. As far as my schedule, got a couple fun shows tomorrow. Chris Spags is going to be joining us on Lulz. Haven't caught up with Spags in a while. He's going to talk a little bit about what happened with his sports betting app that he was working on. Probably he had to abandon that. And so we're going to kind of do some behind the scenes of sports betting, the app business, all of that stuff, what he's been up to as a content creator. And then Gretch is returning to ship chasing tomorrow afternoon. Excited to catch up with Gretch. Hasn't been on the channel since he stepped away from doing full-time ship chasing. And I think we're going to go through our dream fits for some of these rookies, where we would like to see them land in the NFL draft. And then for what night am I doing? Friday night after dark. If you guys are YouTube members, I'm having Thor Nystrom on from Fantasy Life. Super in the weeds on all this NFL draft stuff. Done a lot of prospect coverage, mock draft coverage for us over at Fantasy Life. So excited to talk with Thor. Have never had an opportunity to do an interview with him. So you become a YouTube member, the Best Ball Value Hounds tier, and you will get access to that live stream on Friday night. Otherwise, the next Best Ball Breakfast will be Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will see you guys then, and have a great rest of your week. Peace.